Well, howdy. Glad you chose to be with me for a few minutes here. Just looking at a book. Interesting. The title's The Great Thoughts. It's not a small book, but does that indeed contain the great thoughts of humanity? It's compiled by George Seldes. It's kind of a history. It's has a lot of material in it that's worthy of great thought. And since the title of this effort is Thoughts Thunk While Thinking, certainly fits. Today, I'd like to talk to you about something that's on everyone's mind. It may not be literally stated that way every day, but it's continually on our minds. We want the good life. And that's what I'd like to touch the hem of the garment today. It's something we all seem to want. Everyone has a slightly different idea on how we might attain it. We might call the good life, some might call it the high life, where there's lots of parties and loud music and drink and laughter. Those things tend to be fleeting for an evening. But what I want to talk about, what I pursue as the good life, is after I come home from a party and begin a new day tomorrow and so forth. We all have a lot of poor ideas based upon things that we've heard, things that we've read, things that our friends or others have told us, and we make decisions sometimes that isn't really according to good sense or the fruit of great thought and good thoughts. To continue on this, some think of a life of luxury where they might sit at a beach and watch the surf roll in, and a servant brings them a cold iced tea and adjusts the shade over their head. If you pay attention to the people that have the capability of living that way, or those that try to live that way, and you actually look at their life, you find that they're not any happier than you and I. And many of them aren't as happy. They've attained a place in life either by earning it or being given it by their parents, or maybe they've taken advantage of someone and got to that state in life where they can pretty much go and come as they please. In America, we generally have the freedom to pursue a thing that's referred to sometimes as the American dream. You would define it differently, I'm sure, but to me, the American dream is to take advantage of this country and its freedoms to make my good life, to pursue that good life. truly this is a land of opportunity. There are those that would tell you otherwise. And there are some who think this is just a terrible place and a place of oppression. And I sincerely wish those folks would go to the country of their choice that they think is better, and that they'd go away and never come back. Because I think all they're doing is making themselves unhappy and making folks unhappy that listen to them. There is a spirit that citizens of the United States generally have of can do, don't tell me I can't do, leave me alone, let me pursue my life, let me seek this good life, however I might define it. Those that at least think they recognize the advantages of living in the United States and being a U.S. citizen, respect the red, white, and blue. They stand when the flag passes. They place their hand over their heart. Those that have sacrificed, maybe they've lost a family member who has fought and maybe died, so that we have a flag to look up to that represents this land of opportunity. Some of those folks, perhaps many, I can say this of myself, I've made a certain sacrifice. I've lost friends. I've lost good friends under terrible conditions. So when the flag goes by, it represents so much. And yes, there's times that it brings tears, because I have some inkling of the cost. So this American way, that again you might define differently than I do, is the opportunity to pursue the good life. So what is the good life? If we're pursuing this, what is it we're looking for? Some mistakenly think it means having lots of stuff. As I intimated earlier, some might think it means sitting by the beach and letting a servant wait on us. Some that I have met and talked to are always looking to the future for the good life. They're preparing for retirement. When the golden years come, they're going to travel, or they're going to pursue this hobby, or they're going to move someplace they would like to live their whole life, but they chose to live somewhere they don't really like. I've known this specifically. I have many cousins who left the place they would like to live, around family, around friends and the community they grew up with, but they didn't have very much money. So they moved to a place they detest and work through till retirement, and then go back to where they'd like to have been all along. Thousands of Americans have done that. And these golden years come, and then they're going to live the so-called life of Riley. They're going to enjoy the good life. I believe that philosophy is largely a lie. So the when to enjoy the good life, I sincerely believe, is now. Not tomorrow, not in the morning, but now. If you want to have a good life, then you're going to need good memories. You're going to look back over things that you did, places you went, family that you enjoyed, that you spent time with while you could. And to have those good memories, you have to have a good today. As far as when to enjoy the good life, that needs to be now. And good memories come from good todays. Today will be a memory tomorrow. How you accomplish all that, how you pursue it, is an individual. It's strictly an individual issue. There might be some guidelines, perhaps some that you haven't really considered because you haven't thought about them. And something as important as what you make of your life deserves great thought, great care. And we need to be careful what we hear, what we read, what we believe, because much of it, frankly, is just lies, and actually lead us away from a good life and cause us to have a lot more misery than necessary. You can find lots of advice. Our world is full of it. The TV, the news, magazines, whatever we take in through our eyes and ears, it shapes our life. It affects our environment. So we need to be careful what we take in and evaluate it, and be careful what we believe. We teach our children, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. But then as adults, we don't take that advice. And we should. Life requires some careful thought and careful consideration of the issues. And if we want to have that good life, first of all, we need to realize that the good life is today. This is the day we have. We may not have tomorrow. We may not have next week. We may never live to a retirement, or our health might fail. And when we get to those golden years, they're not so golden. Live now. But there's a difference in living and living frivolously. Life is too precious to be frivolous with. So give it the effort, the thought, the consideration that it deserves. I hope to explore this issue in a little more detail as time passes, but I'm going to just cut to the chase and give you some things that you may have to think about before you agree, and you may never agree. That's okay. That's all right. I believe they're truth or truisms, and so I'll share a couple of those with you right now. And one is that we need to be careful with our perspective. The world and everything in it teaches us about what we don't have. You need a better car. The old house needs work. You just need to move into a new house. You could wear better clothes. You could live in a better community. You need this. You need that. You need something else. And all that serves to do is to make you unhappy. Now, I'm not talking about not lifting yourself up or working to attain some worthy goal. But perspective, to stand back a little bit and look at the big picture, will help you appreciate what you have. And I don't believe anyone attains a measure of happiness, satisfaction, nor do I believe that anyone attains that good life and has good memories who doesn't have an appreciation for what they have. I look back at my childhood, and I didn't know we were poor. Somebody had to tell me I was. Somebody had to tell me that I grew up poor. I had good food, plenty of it. I was outside a lot. I grew up outside. I grew up on a small family farm, a subsistence farm. I had good footwear when I wore shoes. Had warm clothing in the wintertime. I didn't remember the roof leaking. It was a tin roof, and there was absolutely no insulation in the house. The main heating units were two. One was a wood cook stove, and the other was what most people would call a warm morning stove. I don't believe it was a warm morning brand, but I remember one cold time when the whole family was gathered around that stove, and we had put coal in it, and the sides were beginning to glow red, and you'd burn one side, and then you turn around and burn the other side. But you know, I survived. I had plenty of what I needed, and I had a loving family around me. I had to be told that I was poor. I didn't know it. Perspective. There's many lies, and you can believe all of them if you choose, and you can make yourself unhappy if you choose. But work on your perspective. So if we cut to the chase, we come to this, the truth, not the lies, but the truth. If you want to be happy, if you want to have the good life, then develop a thankfulness for what you have. There's a poem someplace, I've probably got it in these books here behind me, if I'd take the time to hunt it up. But the fellow complained that he didn't have shoes until he met a man who didn't have feet. If you think things can't get worse, oh, I could tell you some stories there. They can. There are things that you have, if you're hungry, if you're cold, if you lost your job, if things just seem on the downturn, there are still things you can be thankful for, because there are those who don't have what you have. There are people in worse condition. And if you want to be happy, appreciate what you have and work towards having the things that you really need. And some deep thought might be necessary to figure out what it is you really need. If you're dissatisfied with your wife, she's getting older, look in the mirror, you're getting older too. But you think you'll be happy if you go find a younger wife or a better looking wife. Or if you find a mate that has more money, and you'll leave the poor sucker that has to work in a factory every day, and you'll be happy, then you are lying to yourself. You've received some information someplace that is an outright lie, and it will ruin your life, and you'll never have a good life. Think about it. Give it some real thought. I hope to explore this in a lot more detail and maybe give you some information that'll help you out. Thanks for coming by. You have a good day.